Welcome to yet another Adrenalin Shot, your short, sharp injection of something valuable. And today my guest is Robyn Haydon. Good morning, Robyn.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Dawn.
Nice to see you this morning. We've had a few technical hitches this morning, but we're all good to go now. And it's nice to see Robyn on the call with us today. So let me introduce you to Robyn. Robyn is a business development consultant whose customers have won hundreds of millions of dollars worth of business with some of Australia's largest corporate and government buyers, including people like the ANZ Bank, the ATO, BHP Billiton, Commonwealth Bank, Department of Defence, I've got a story there for you, Robyn, and Woolworths. She specialises in helping people navigate the treacherous waters of the competitive bidding and tendering system. Robyn's also the author of 3 books on business development. Her first book, The Shredder Test, a step-by-step guide to writing winning proposals, was an Institute of Management bestseller. Her second book, Winning Again, deals with the issue of how you retain and grow your most important contracts and customers when you're forced to compete for them again. And her latest book is Value, how to talk about what you do so customers want to buy it. So I'm looking forward to talking to Robyn this morning because writing tenders, competitive tenders, there's a real art to it, isn't there, Robyn?
Yeah, there definitely is. And it's something that a lot of people don't realise and don't really invest in the way that they do in other parts of their business, which I find really interesting.
Yeah. So obviously you've been doing this for quite some time. What's the environment like in competitive tendering these days compared to how it was when you first started your consulting practice back in 2001?
Yeah, well, look, we're coming to the end of our second decade of competitive tendering really being the norm in the way that companies have to pitch for business. I think what happens in the buying and selling system is there's this feeling that it needs to be kept in balance. So when competitive tendering came in, it was a bit of a reaction to the solution selling environment where buyers had spent a lot of time with suppliers, they'd been asked a lot of questions, sellers would come up with a solution and they give them the price. And I think that buyers at that point felt that maybe they weren't getting the best deal and they were being maybe tied up or stitched up. And that's why competitive tendering became so prevalent. This idea that, we could be transparent, we could compare a whole bunch of different suppliers and get a result. I think what I've seen in the couple of decades I've been doing this is that's all well and good, and it certainly has had that result, but it's had some unintended consequences as well in terms of the way that suppliers have been commoditised and the way that people do get compared simply on price. So I think we're moving now to a time where, that system's gotten out of whack again and it will come back into balance, and we'll see buyers and suppliers starting to collaborate more because we're simply all facing the same issues in business with disruption and the need to compete better and do business better.
Yeah, and not just on price, which I think is where you were going with that. When you've got that competitive tendering business and people are just stacking up company A, B, C, D, E, and really they're just, at the end of the day, looking for what's the best price here. They're not really comparing some of the other solutions that people are putting forward.
It's not just about price, it's about outcomes. And I think we have enough evidence now that the competitive tendering system doesn't always deliver the best outcomes. So, eventually that will start to come back into balance again, which is encouraging news for suppliers for sure.
Absolutely. I've only ever participated in one request for tender in my life when I was with Singapore Airlines. That was for Rio Tinto. And just the sheer size of the document was so off-putting. What's one of the biggest mistakes that companies make with the proposals when they're applying for a competitive tender?
Well, I think to your point, Dawn, it really is that. It is looking at the document and treating it like paperwork and not like an exciting opportunity to win new business. And you see this in the way that companies put junior people on the job just to turn out reams and reams of stuff, the way that senior people will opt out of a bid because they think, I don't need to be involved in that. I'll go and do something more fun. And that really is the fundamental mistake, I think, that culture is compromised in that process.
Yeah, because it's, there's millions of dollars riding on some of these things. You're putting your junior people in charge of it. And there's no way if I'd looked at that document that I could have said it was going to be fun, because it does look like it was horrible. So what would you say would be the first step or the first couple of steps that a leader could take to actually improve their company's proposals? It sounds like you're going down the path of, well, someone more senior should be involved, but
Yeah, I think the first step really is to recognise that this is a piece about culture, and it is about the way that people resource and reward and look at their proposal effort. So if what you're doing now is not working, then get someone in to take a look at it. I mean, one of the programs that I run is called Pimp My Proposals, and it's probably the most successful program that I do because it combines that need for feedback, because the market often won't give you good feedback about your proposals and what you're doing wrong, with the need to develop some sort of baseline skills in the team who are contributing to proposals. And by that, I don't mean your proposals team, you know, the submissions team, the people who are already there doing the work. It's the subject matter experts in the business, the people who really need to be engaged and involved. That's the first step usually for most organisations, is to actually recognise that this is a cultural problem that they've got to solve.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's the future going to hold? If we're looking about people that are really serious about beating their competitors and winning more business through proposals and competitive tendering, what does the future hold?
Well, I guess we've tried alternative approaches. We've tried to put proposal teams together. We've tried proposal automation and proposal productivity, kind of software type solutions. The big frontier now is in proposal engagement and in looking at how we're resourcing the business. Because if you think about business these days, there actually aren't that many opportunities in a business that's become quite large to get teams together across the silos of the business and to get them working on a common goal. And proposals are one such opportunity, you know, to do that. So proposal engagement is the next frontier, but it actually does start with some of the basics, even around training. Look at your training budget. Look at what you're spending your money on. In the US, companies typically spend, you know, $1,500 per salesperson on training, but it's all on the face-to-face selling stuff and not on the stuff that, you know, really matters about getting business through the door. And that starts with proposals.
Yeah. And, you know, I think what really stands out for me here is that we've become so far removed from the face-to-face thing that, you know, your writing skills, your ability to persuade in writing and put forward what's needed in a proposal so that you get to the face-to-face thing, that part's critical. And a lot of people just don't have those skills, you know.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah.
They don't. Relationships are still important. Sales are still all about relationships, but the way they're transacted has changed. So the relationship now comes on the other side of the proposal and not before. And even in 20 years, you know, people still are struggling to make that connection, I find.
Yep, I would agree with you. Well, thank you. We packed an awful lot into that 5 minutes, and it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. I look forward to speaking with you again. And Robyn's also, for those of you who don't know, a speaker on the tech circuit.
That's
and
right.
I'm looking forward to having Robyn come and talk to my key group at some point as well in the future.
Love to.
So look forward to doing that.
Thanks, Dawn. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks,
See you later,
Robyn.
everyone.
Thank you.